Okay, call meeting to order. Would all please rise for the pledge of allegiance? The boroughs comply with the notice provision of the Sunshine Law by adopting prior to January 10th of this year a resolution prescribing the dates, times, and locations of all regular meetings of the commission. This meeting is one of those meetings listed in such resolution, and copies of the resolution were prior to January 10th filed with the borough clerk.
Need a motion to file the minutes?
Motion. Second.
A motion to file the following report, CFO and treasurer, and do not have the zoning.
Okay. Second. Okay, we have a few presentations tonight. Our swim team, the Marlins, won first time ever the Suburban League American Division, undefeated this year they were. So, and the swimmers range in age from 5 to 18, and we have here with us tonight the team. Actually, have the trophy, which is about the size of some of the people in the room, I think. But why don't you come on up? Can we get the team to come up and let us? Liz, you want to say a few words about the season, the team?
I took over the team this summer, about 125 swimmers ranging from the age of 5 to 18, with some Suburban League, and we did go undefeated this year. We had a very great season. It's a really record broken, and we did a great job. They did a great job, actually. So
Awesome.
I'm very happy to be part of it.
Congratulations.
They work very hard. Can you just tell us a little bit about what practice is like?
Swimming, it starts the first Tuesday or Monday in June, and we go till the end of July, and they do practice 5 days a week with meets on Saturdays, and some kids swim on Sundays for meets. So, yeah, about an hour and a half for the older kids and an hour for the younger kids. So, yeah.
You got it? Okay, great. You guys, you slide over, team. Take a couple rows. You can't take one picture with everybody on. The big guys,
Right here.
over here behind, second row, big guys.
Does the trophy have to be at least as tall as the smallest swimmer?
Here we go, 2 lines. Come on down, come on down.
Rob, like, squish it.
Come on.
Like he's, anybody will see you no matter what.
Bigger than 2 of them.
Nice for the team.
All right. Okay, thanks. Oh yeah, so this year we pretty quickly had at Pride, we had a little bit of a pop-up celebration, had to give a recognition to the folks that helped in the committee. If you're here, come on up. Philip Patrick Thompson. Okay. Donna Helms. Michael Snyder. Brian McGinnis. I can feel you. You got a night off? Good stuff. We're recognizing also Cassandra Duffy. Mindy, Sandy, Sandra, and Mindy. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, how about that? So, Cassandra, would you want to take a picture of us now?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for, thank you.
Fresh Off Designs and local businesses, thanks to them, we raised over $700 at Collinswood High School's GSA Club and Gender and Sexuality Alliance. So we really appreciate them stepping up on such short notice and being so generous.
And then, so tonight we have probably as many resolutions as we did for the entire 12 months before. The work of our green team, our sustainable crew. There's this program that started in New Jersey a few years ago, Sustainable New Jersey, that intends to try to make communities, local governments more environmentally sensitive. They set up a pretty intense program to try to improve environmental awareness and practices in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different areas. We've been, our green team has been working on this for quite some time now. It's been a couple years, and tonight is really the culmination of their work, because we have a whole host of resolutions, ordinances designed at a lot of different environmental areas to try to make the borough operate a little bit better, try to encourage our residents to operate a little bit better. And so we want to thank all of them. I know a number of the members of the green team are here this evening. Thank you all for all of your help. We greatly appreciate you, all the work that you've done. Hopefully it helps to actually see something get accomplished with it, at least a law or a rule be put in place that we can then go enforcing people in the daylights out of people to make them do these things. But we appreciate your work. We wanted to give a special recognition to someone. Joan's going to talk a little bit.
There are many people who've done a lot of good work, but Lorraine Prince, we wanted to recognize her tonight. Come on up, Lorraine. Lorraine has been a friend of the environment for as long as I've known her, as long as I've lived here. She was always a champion for the cause of helping the environment, but lately, so a little while ago, Lorraine retired so that she could work 10 times harder than she's ever worked. So I hear that that's a thing. So just helping with our green team and all, the green festival and all those other things. Lorraine now is a key person helping with the Newton Creek Watershed Association, the River Keepers, the Sadler's Woods, and the Collinswood Green Team. So just so that you never have a moment off, we want to thank Lorraine for all of the work it's made. Big difference. Recognize Lorraine, and we have a county plaque which she succeeded in getting out. So this is our budget. This is the county's budget.
This is where I started. I want you all to know that.
Lorraine is very vigilant with us with emails about this is going on, that's going on, this is happening here. You need to be aware of this, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. She like keeps us posted and really lets us know, so we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and can I just take off on that a little bit?
Mhm.
I know we all have good intentions when it comes to the environment, and we all can be very happy that you live in Collinsville because of environmental sensitivity. But I want to just make sure that you all understand that we all have a role in this. If you do notice something, particularly you see these resolutions that they're going to be bringing out today, don't count on those things taking care of themselves. That involves those of us either calling attention to someone doing something well or something that's really hurting the environment. Because in the long run, it really does all add up. It all starts on the local level. That's what's so wonderful about working locally in the environment. You can really see changes. It adds up. So, thank you.
Thanks. So we have a resolution, right? Oh, we're gonna do the first reading of the ordinances. Okay, let's go through it. No, let's go through it. Yep.
First reading ordinance 1667 prohibiting smoking on public property.
So the public hearing on all of these first readings is October the 7th. And for those that aren't so obvious by their titles, I'll try to give you a quick explanation of what it is. This one I think is pretty clear. Yes,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Okay, the first reading ordinance 1668 regulating outdoor lighting.
So this has a lot of restrictions in terms of how public lighting ought to be done, mainly to reduce the overflow and spillage of the light effects beyond the focus of what, to stop, listen to the word, light pollution, to try and eliminate it and control it better. We try to do it as much as we can, but this is putting an ordinance in place with some regulations on it. So again, October 7th. Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
And the first reading ordinance 1669 ban on single-use plastic bags.
So one change on this is in section, from what was posted up on our website, the alternative carryout bags that are permitted, there's a section that allows people to purchase a bag. We're going to delete the second sentence of that from this introduced ordinance. We may put it back in, but this has to do with folks who are on assistance programs, that they would be exempt from it, from the per bag fee. But there's been some issues raised with us that creates a lot of very uncomfortable situations. So we're gonna just look at that some more to decide whether or not we want to include that. But so with that change, we would introduce this ordinance. This is a ban on single-use plastic bags. There's a bunch of towns in the state that have adopted this. We've had conversations not just with the community, but with some of the businesses about how they're able to adapt to it. This has a time period where it kind of gradually goes into effect, and that's what this is. October 7th will be the public hearing.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, just so I'm clear and make sure I understand, the issue of people with public assistance is, in fact, it's not allowed to be charged to their SNAP accounts, let's say. But they still are required to pay it, to create a sort of two payment system of putting things on SNAP and then requiring them to pay money out.
And it's been raised by some stores that have dealt with this, that said that it creates uncomfortable situations where they will, while customers being waited on, have to ask the customer. And so we're going to look at that a little bit further and see whether or not there's some other way to accomplish it. Okay? So,
Mayor Bailey?
yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
And the first reading ordinance 1670 amending chapter 263 short-term rental.
So this is, referred to as Airbnb ordinance. This regulates short-term rentals, sets some parameters, defining what short-term rentals are as opposed to long-term rentals, which are basically a year or more. Just some of the highlights are it sets a maximum of 30 days per year, no more than 14 consecutive days. has different restrictions in terms of some fire safety issues. And so we're introducing this. We had put one out for comment a good 5-6 months ago. And so this will be introduced this evening. October 7th will be the public hearing on this. Happy to hear more comments from folks. And even after we adopt this, doesn't mean it gets changed, doesn't get changed anymore. We're adopting and changing ordinances all the time to try and accommodate and deal with whatever the new issue that might come up. Okay?
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
No.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 1671, water conservation.
So this has got some rules on, for the most part, sprinklering systems, automatic sprinklering systems. And take a look at the ordinance. We're happy to hear any feedback on it in an effort to conserve water. So, Hal?
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
And we have the first reading of ordinance 1672, creating a green development checklist.
So this ordinance applies to major site plan and subdivision projects. So it's for larger projects, which, I think the lumberyard was the only major site plan project we've had in the last 20 years. But for major projects, and obviously the speed line parking lot someday is going to be developed into something, but for larger projects, this requires a pretty detailed, intensive green development analysis, where it doesn't so much require a developer to take any action or to take certain steps, but what it does is requires them, as part of that application process, to complete these checklists to show that they considered options and what decisions they've made on those options. Okay?
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
Okay, so a few meetings ago, we started this public comment section on the resolution agenda. So for the agenda items that we have listed here, which there's not a public hearing on each of these specifically, this is the opportunity for any public comment on for right now, on the rest of the agenda only. We'll have general public comment for everybody to talk about whatever you want at the end of the meeting. So any comments on the resolution agenda? Yes?
Is there a copy of the short-term rental proposal, but it wasn't online? It was a duplicate of the plastic bag from online, so I don't have a copy of that.
What's that? Is there one on, okay, so there's some in the back here, in the back, it's not online?
No.
Okay, all right, my apologies. So yes, it's in there's a.
And we'll get it
hard copy,
online too.
And we'll get it posted up in the morning. Okay, so any other public comments?
I
Yes?
actually did have a question about Peter returning rentals. Is there, like I didn't see it either, is there some sort of vetting process because, it's, as a landlord of yearly rental, like every year I have to file a registration for all my tenants. So the town knows who all the tenants are, the wages, everything. So is there to be some sort of vetting process for the short-term rental?
So and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because we got a lot of new ordinances, but there's an annual registration process that the owner goes through. Okay? One of the changes we made in this is that only homeowner residents are allowed to rent. Okay? So it's not that you have to be present, it's just designed so that a person that owns and lives in that house can rent it out on the short term. We expected that kind of followed some guidance from Asbury Park that will help eliminate LLCs, absentee landlord, kind of eliminate that. There's not a requirement that you give notice of the people that are coming to stay Saturday night. Okay? The names of the people that are coming for Saturday night.
But there is a requirement that you report that you're renting over the course of those many days. If there's any change in who your contact is, you have to, the form will say that I'm still in compliance with the law, because we're not going to inspect every time that you rent. I'm still in compliance with the law. So those things will be on.
I was just curious why? Because like.
So we're gonna- so
The
Steve-
long-term rentals, like, you have to report, like I said, everything. You can say every adult who's gonna be there, every child who's gonna be there. You have to give them phone numbers, you have to give them ages. So I was just curious how
Right.
long a while, like, if we're doing it for long-term, rentals for 1 year, and, the borough needs to know everything for people who are gonna live there for a year, why wouldn't they need to know for somebody who's gonna be in and out,
Oh, you raised the question. Then we'll, yes, we'll go over it. We'll talk about it.
I do have a question about.
Just send your name and address, please.
Jen Rossi, 114 East Palmer Avenue. For the establishing and adopting a complete streets policy,
Yes.
will that include doing safe routes to school for all of the schools within the borough?
It includes, I believe it includes integrating the policies behind the Safe Streets. The Safe Streets to Schools, the grant program, we're we're waiting for the grant to come, to be implemented, without. So when you say will it do it for every school, I'm not sure what you mean. Like, will all the work be done to implement all the policy? Like, will the infrastructure be changed, and, sidewalks changed and all that? Is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, because we have no busing within the borough, and the only school within the borough that I found a safe routes to school study done for is towards a north along Leeds Avenue there. So, my child goes over to Newbie, and a lot of kids walk over to middle school, high school, so I was wondering if that kind of study was going to be done as part of this resolution.
So, as I think Jen, we received a grant from the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Authority that was really looking at bike and pedestrian safety. As part of that, they're not only, analyzing this, but actually reaching out, I don't think they have yet, right, Sam, to schools, to.
The school board did appoint a representative, Kim Brooks, as the liaison, plus there's gonna be public meetings.
And there'll be public meetings too. What Zero Streets does is when we do a piece of infrastructure, that essentially we can't do what's always been done for the last, 70 years, which is essentially plan for the car, right? That essentially transportation planning was planned for the car. And now it's gonna be, no, we're gonna look at this more holistically. We're gonna have a force of, words behind it to say that every project that's done has to.
So is it gonna be the master plan 2020 that's also fitting into this? I just really wanna know
It'll
which
be-
kind of meetings.
It'll be linked into it. It won't be a comprehensive overview. All that this policy says is that when we're going to go do work, we will now look at it with a complete street policy, the safety difference. We'll look at it. We'll take that into consideration. I think that we've been doing that anyway, but this now makes it a policy, makes it that we have to be doing it. We have to be, going through those standards, going through that exercise to make sure we make it satisfy the standards.
And our bicycle and pedestrian plan will probably answer that and give a chance for people to weigh in where we might not be noticing something.
So we could expect before us any kind of claim that people who would be pedestrians, bicyclists, et cetera, would be in some way notified that there's gonna be work being done in the area, or that there's a call to the public, say if you would walk or bike in this area, we're having a meeting because we're planning on this intersection or this section of road. Is that something that's?
Yeah, I don't know that that's formally a part of it, but we can sure look at, we look at something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, sure. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Pop?
And the resolution appointing Lucas Bruce as full-time police officer.
Yes.
Yes.
Lucas?
All right.
So Lucas is not an unfamiliar face to many of you. Lucas has been working with us as a special officer with your family. Has been working with us for some time, and Officer Ed Carell recently retired. And we're now promoting Lucas up into the position of police officer. Okay, all right, put your hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Say that to me. I state your name.
I, Lucas Burge,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United
and
States
in this state
and in the state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of police officer
of the police
for
officer
the Borough of Collingswood
for the Borough of Collingswood
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Mr. Walker.
Get a little lot to it.
Yeah, just slide it. There you go. Congrats. I want to make mention of two other of our officers. One of our firefighters, Matt Chronic, is in South Carolina now. He's part of the state's task force that was sent down to Florida to assist in the hurricane, with the hurricane, and as you've all seen, weather forecast change. He's now gone from Florida up the coast into South Carolina, and we wish him well. And also, just to point out, we'll recognize him more formally next month. But we had a water rescue out of Cooper River on Sunday night. A gentleman in his kayak overturned. When you drop your phone in the river, just let the phone go. He overturned, and things got pretty desperate for him. Couldn't swim, didn't have a life jacket, and while everyone was responding, one of our officers, Kenny Jacoby, and an officer from Haddon Township went in and rescued him. So our hats off. Thank you to all the men and women that serve us. We really appreciate all that you do. And Kenny's probably out of the pool somewhere. Oh, he's here. Kenny's here. I didn't see it. I didn't back. Fine job. We'll do a little something next month. We're trying to get Haddon Township involved.
Big cake.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Okay.
Appointing Eric Cameron as full-time laborer to the Department of Public Works.
Yes.
Yes.
Appointing Joseph Kuchar as crew chief to the Department of Public Works.
Yes.
And appointing Elizabeth Palumbo as part-time administrative assistant.
Yes.
Yes.
Establishing and adopting a green street policy.
So this is beginning the Green Team Sustainable Jersey resolutions. Yes.
Yes.
Establishing the college creative team.
Yes.
Yes.
Instituting a green ground and maintenance program.
Yes.
Yes.
Designating the borough of Collingswood as an idle-free zone.
Yes.
Yes.
Support of the sustainable land use pledge.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the things we're passing right now is the island ordinance. It's so important to reduce air pollution by shutting off the car, not leaving the car on. So it's one of those simple things that are so effective in helping air quality. That's one of those things like Lorraine was saying. It's simple, but everybody can do it and do a better job and make a difference if everyone did that. So, yes.
Supporting New Jersey's Wildlife Action Plan.
Yes.
Approving raffle licenses 2019-10 through Collingswood Rotary, and 2019-11 for Health and Life New Jersey.
Yes.
Yes.
For final approval of 2019 bid budget.
So this is the public hearing, right, tonight, on this crazy state process for adopting our budget for the Business Improvement District. If anyone would like to be heard, is tonight the public hearing?
Yes,
Yes. So anyone would be like to heard on the Business Improvement District assessment, this is an assessment that is on every business in town. It is like an extra tax on businesses. That money gets pooled into a single fund that is used to run many of the business, many of our business district operations. Some of it goes to some festivals, a lot of it goes into advertising, some of it's used to help water flowers, to help beautify the downtown, the west side, it's used for all our business districts. This is the public hearing one. Anyone like to bring anything, any comments or anything to the commission? This is your opportunity to do so. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Just need your name and address for the
That's
record.
right, Raymond Woods, 873 Hot Apple. I'm just curious as to how much say the business owners have in the dispersal of these funds and what the decisions are.
So there's an executive, I think we have a meeting, is it this Thursday morning, right? Is the general meeting of all the businesses. We meet them quarterly. And then there's an executive committee of like 9 people that are made up of a mix of business owners, some government officials, and that's where the decisions made, put the budget together, it's published. It really hasn't grown much in the last couple of years, we've kept it pretty stable. And we hear input all the time from everybody that, we're constantly asking for feedback about how this advertising worked, how that worked. We recently did a program on a co-op with billboards that has gotten a pretty good response from our businesses. So we'll probably look at doing more of that in the future. So it's a real give and take all through the year. A lot of it's Sept, we do facade grants.
Right, so we have some facade grants where if somebody's doing work, they can get it approved with our secretary, and then they can receive some reimbursement up to $500 for property just to help the facade, that upkeep, the sidewalks, paint for your building. So to try to give back, to encourage people that they can.
And a big chunk of the money from the assessment, I want to say like $45,000 of it, is what we use every Christmas time on the Kyle's Cash giveaway, like the bonus money that everybody gets. That's the business's money that they paid in, that we kind of, have a jump ball and put it up for grabs, and people come, get that free money, and now can all the businesses. That's why they do all these promotions with, bring in that bonus cash, and you get bonus gift cards from us because they're all competing to get that money turned back. Okay? All right, anybody else? Okay, close that. Hal?
I'm going to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Mayor Mallon?
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski?
Yes.
Authorize Ms. Byrne to enter into a cooperative pricing agreement with Canby County for the purchasing of copy paper, computer paper, and envelopes.
Yes.
Yes.
Approving the review of the 2018 municipal audit.
I'll just note, I want to give thanks to Betty Jo Pugliacelli, our CFO, and Sandy Powell, who we're very happy. We have no comments in the audit, which either means our auditor's doing a really bad job or they're doing a really good job, because you always have comments. You just always have comments from the auditor. But we have no comments at all. So
Because Betty Jo did a really good
Betty
job.
Jo did a great job. Yes, I joke. So thank you to them, and yes.
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 And
Sorry.
yeah, and sorry, back to you.
Yep.
And approving payment of bills as presented by the treasurer.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I have one more. It's a resolution authorizing the borough to join in the litigation that has been brought by the county of Camden regarding recycling. And it's left to the discretion of the solicitor if it's necessary. So we had mentioned before that we've had a number of trucks with recyclables that are being rejected at the county's recycling site. FCR is the name of the company. Republic Waste is who handles it. They've been rejected for the most part, and just urge everyone, for the most part, they're being rejected because people are putting their recyclables into plastic trash bags and putting them out in the trash. Before we get to a point where we have to start doing, citations or not pick up trash that's that way, we're really urging people to, recycle the right way, recycle the right products. So what we're authorizing tonight is that if we need to, that we would join in this lawsuit. The county has filed suit against the waste hauler because some of the steps they're taking to try to deal with this contaminated recycling and the fact that the recycling market world has totally changed. There's some question of whether or not those steps they're taking are authorized under the contract. So there's some action going on. In all likelihood, it's going to end up in some kind of a resolution with a new deal. But we're authorizing the solicitor to take steps to get the borough involved if we need to. Yes. Yes. Thanks. Okay, Commissioner Lewandowski, I covered, that's it, right? Everybody, nobody else, that's it, all right. Commissioner Lewandowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With so many ordinances and resolutions coming up, I want to join in thanking the great team. The amount of work that went in to these ordinances and the research going into it was months. And, it's all volunteer based and greatly appreciated of it. So thank you, man. A couple things I want to point out. Collingswood Library, food for fines. We appreciate if you hand in all your books and DVDs and everything on time. But if you have fines right now between the 4th and the 10th, in lieu of paying those fines, the library will accept food donations that will be given to St. Paul's food pantry. Food insecurity is a big issue for families, senior citizens, working folks, to everybody. And it's kind of a nice way to sort of get people maybe to do what they haven't quite done, is pay those fines, is bring some non-perishable foods. And the Collingswood Library site is information on recommended foods. Just a couple other library things that are worth talking about is the building blocks to early literacy programs. Library really is focusing in on young and emerging readers. That one's for 18 to 35-month-olds, and there's essentially from entire fall. So it starts in September and goes through December, once a week. There are Wednesday and Friday classes. So encouraging people to if you have young children, to sign up for building blocks. Create a dance class, something for kids who are a little bit older, at the 2.5 to 4-year-old. Again, a free program through the library. Debate club for high school students is starting up. I guess they'll be probably really marketing that in the high school, but I think any Collingswood resident, meets the age requirement, more than welcome to join. Again, information's there. Last thing I just want to mention is the owners of the Pop Shop, Connie and Bill Fisher, made the decision to sell a business that has been here for 15 years. It's been so important to a lot of community organizations and to the town in general. Pop Shop's still going to be here. It's going to be closed for a week while they spruce it up, and then it's opening, I think, on September 12th. But just like all our business owners, but specifically Connie and Bill, at this point, they work so hard, and we so appreciate what they do to make Collingswood a great place, and wish the two of them best of luck. That's all I got.
Commissioner Leonard?
So initiatives and seeing it on paper, and the more you read it and look at it, the more you'll see there are even more ideas that you have that can help make things even better. But it's always good to start somewhere to try to get through those ideas and see what else we all can do, especially in the area of recycling and in stormwater runoff, how we can help during these times where there are so many storms, how we can keep our waterways clean, and what each of us can do in our own backyards to help in that way. I think we've made many good starts, and I hope that we continue and expand on that. I'm wishing all the kids and teachers back to school safety and health and a good year coming up. And that's on my mind now as we enter almost fall, before you know it. I wanted to comment briefly also on the short-term rental ordinance. I think it's no mystery that I am the most opposed to it here. Everybody else has been able to wrap their brain around things that make sense. The parts that make sense to me are that outside investors won't be able to come in, and we ourselves can't buy a bunch of houses and rent them. It has to be your own permanent residence. So that part's good. The part that doesn't work is that I think it's a non-compatible use, a commercial use. It's taxes and all types of talk about how it is the same as a hotel or a boarding house. And I've read about cities all over the world that are just trying to eliminate it, trying to only allow the short-term rentals in a hotel area so that it keeps the quick turnover of people coming and going out of residential areas where it's not compatible with that because they're not boarding houses or hotels, they're where people live. And not knowing who is coming and going from the driveway next door is uncomfortable for people. So the people who want to see it happen are the people who benefit from it, and the other people left behind who are not doing it are saying they're uncomfortable. And I've read 3 more hours this weekend and asked people of all ages what they feel. So I won't belabor that point longer, other than to say I'm glad that the ordinance that's here is only 30 days, but that still is a lot of impact because there's no regulation so far on how many houses can do this. And where will all these cars go? So there's laws and then there's the reality of how it will actually play out. So I'm very concerned and I'll continue to study what we have, what other people have, and see if there's anything that I can do to make a difference, to tighten up further.
Okay, all right, thanks. The fire and police building bids are coming in. I'm not sure, is it sure, within the next week or two? What's that?
September 11th.
Oh, great, September 11th. And we expect to award, if not this month, then at the October meeting, I'm sure we'll be in position to award a contract to a construction company. There's been some work that's gone on down there, which is really the work that we've done with respect to the stormwater management, trying to improve the drainage down there for the folks on Zane and Summerfield and that area there. At the back of the property, so we've done that work. That's in place pretty much, and we're still hoping to see some work get started sometime this fall. There's a gala on October the 4th over at the Scottish Rite Auditorium. This is our substitute for the pop-up gala. We're taking a year off from the dinner at White. And it's going to be actually we just need nice weather. I have a committee that's working on that right now. We're going to need some nice weather. Hoping to do it outside on the grounds, kind of the mansion, part of the mansion part of the Scottish Rite. Not a place where most people get to go to whenever you're at events there.
20-year anniversary.
20 years, yeah, we've had the Scottish Rite for 20 years. And so we're starting a year of celebration over there with that. So we urge people, you can get tickets online. It has sold very, very well. It's going to be a great night, and we hope you can all join us. Okay, going to open up to the public session of the meeting. Anyone have anything to bring before the commission? This is your opportunity to do so. Yes?
Hi. Hello, my name is Katie Ingersoll. I'm at 232 Lincoln Avenue. I'm going to speak a little bit on behalf of myself, but also my colleague and friend, Brian Dubs-Brotman. I think you know Brian. He's at 243 Crestmont Terrace. He's at work. He's okay, but he couldn't make it tonight. He saw the single-use plastic ban on the agenda, and he wanted to share his support for the ban. And also thank the commissioners for taking action on this. I have a letter from him. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I can give you a copy.
Sure.
Thanks.
He also just wanted to also encourage all of us and you to consider everything that's happening tonight and all this great progress on great initiatives as a first step on kind of our journey to becoming an ecologically sustainable community. He mentions in his letter the climate change intensified storm that we had a few weeks ago. I know Brian was without power for a few days. A lot of people in town were affected by it. And if you kind of read the climate news, you know, climate scientists tell us that we can expect these types of weather events to keep happening. So that's kind of Brian's letter. So I'll just kind of give you a copy.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great. And so that's Brian's statement. And then I just wanted to, on that note, you know, in this meeting where we've had so much great progress on these great issues, I thought it would also be good to continue the conversation we've been having about CCA, community choice aggregation for energy. For people who aren't familiar, this is a policy option we've been talking about with the commissioners that would allow us to cool all of our buying power in town and switch over to renewable energy as a town. So I know you guys know about this. We've been talking about it. You guys have been doing research on it. At the last meeting, which I actually saw the live stream of, I wasn't able to be here. I think, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned, you mentioned that you were just about tax bills. And so having that kind of that job, you were thinking a lot about community buy-in of this proposal and what it would be like for the community if they would be accepting. So we hear that. So those of us who are passionate about this issue, we are getting out there, talking to the community, trying to spread the word about this. So we just wanted to come and share that. As we've been at the farmers market, you might have seen us out there with our petitions, talking to folks about this. I will say 99% of the people we talk to are very supportive of this. It's more about explaining to them how it works and what it is than kind of convincing them. So I think that's really encouraging. We have about 97 petition signatures right now. So we just wanted to share that with you, and we know you're interested in kind of public buy-in. So we will keep sharing with you as we talk to more people and let you know, what we're seeing in terms of support for this issue in the community.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, and I think it would be great at this meeting where we've had so many great green initiatives to also hear if you have any updates about your research and as decision makers, what do you see as the prerequisites for doing this in our town? Great.
So one of the, I forget which town, but one of the towns, what was it? Livingston. One of their consultants, I know the group real well, do a lot of work with them. So I've been talking to them to find out about, how this all runs. And we're setting up a meeting, and probably because of my schedule, it's probably not going to be until the beginning of October. But the one, and I'll link it into this. So we're having discussions with them, learning more about like the nuts and bolts about how it actually runs. And the key, like where it works, like everyone will buy in, okay? No one will not buy in. It will be when they get a bill that costs more money. That's when they'll say, wait a minute, I didn't know that. So what seems to be an integral part in towns where they're doing this is it's a combination of the price point and the sustainable percentage that they do, okay? So long as that's in the mix, like that makes it much easier for me personally to do, because nobody's gonna be against it. This is like, do you like babies? I mean, nobody's gonna be against it. The problem is, will you watch my baby tonight while he's sick, okay? It's like when the price, if it costs, to go 100% sustainability, if it raises the prices on people's energy, that, then there's gonna be people that, we talk about taxes on people that, struggle, that, I raised it because it's, it's an important good thing that we're doing. So it's that balance. So it seems like in every town that's doing it right now, that's a big component of it. And for towns where they go out on the bid, if they don't have a savings, no matter what the sustainable quotient is, they're like, they don't do it. They're not doing it.
Sure.
So as long as we can work that in, and then, the industry's changing, that sustainable portion can get higher and higher as it gets cheaper. So that's why we're exploring it.
And just to clarify, so you're saying if through our research you found that it could be done with keeping prices stable, then it would be a go for
Everywhere I've talked to, that's how they're doing it. I don't know of any place where they're increasing the prices.
And that's part of it, right?
Yeah, right.
Or the same price. And we've done some research too, and it works in most places.
Yes, you don't get as much savings as you would.
Right.
Okay, but they still knock the number down. So
and that consultant seems to be so very important. One of the things that I said early on, it may or may not still be true, as I said, well, we should cast a wider net because the economy is not very big. Bigger, we save more. And that may be the case, but one of the things that I've learned from people that know this industry more is you want to make sure that in many ways you have like-minded towns, both in the type of energy use they have, people, energy buyers and stuff like that, they'll look at the default rates and rates and stuff like that, and you can create, if you have a situation where you're similar, then essentially there's not a winner and loser among towns, but sometimes it can affect things. So whereas I instantly said bigger's better, it's like, no, I think really we do need to rely on the consultant more in putting this together, which I'm looking forward to learning more. Like you, I'm reading and doing stuff and see where it goes.
Do you think you'll have an update at the October meeting, or?
We may talk some more, but I don't think, because of my schedule, I don't think we're going to be able to get together.
Well,
I'm going to be away for a little bit.
Thank you for your work on it, and as we see all that's happening in the news, I think a sense of the time frame would be really helpful for those of us out there talking to people about it too. So just to kind of keep that. Thank you.
Yeah. And just one correction to you,
Yeah.
to Brian, it's not a first step, it's just another step.
Like, when
I'll
I
pass them.
I haven't been here as long as Jim, but in 1997, he's still 4 years been here, right? Longer? Yeah. Oh. In 1997, we passed a law of integrated pest management. That's been a really long time that we vowed to not on any public space use, the R word. Don't say it out loud. Just use any of that. And we passed our first budget of $10,000 a year for trees. We've planted at least 100 a year since 1997. So that's two things right there. And our recycling has always been here, our composting has always been here, but we increased it right then to include magazines weren't recycled, and then they were. So it's been a constant trying to improve with taking a lot of shots too, like what's happening right now. So it's a constant battle, but I like seeing it on paper and doing more.
And Joan reminded me, I want to just mention one thing. I want to specifically thank Sandy Bell for the work that she's done, working with this green team. But, it's like every club, there could be 50 people in your club, but like there's 2 or 3 people that do the work at the club. Sandy's been taking the yeoman's work, done a great job. Doing things she's really, she likes to write the colorful, marketing stuff, not ordinances and resolutions. But you've done a great job. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, anyone else? Yes, Ann, we brought up, yeah.
In Woodcock, 121 East Palmer Avenue. I just wondered if you could give us an update on what's going on with That's Amore. That building is
So-
like pretty sad looking.
Yeah, it is. That's Amore. We've had some enforcement issues going there. We also started, I want to say 2 months ago, we started an eminent domain process against it to acquire the property. Because nothing was happening and we didn't have any good reasons for that. So we began an eminent domain process, appraisal's underway. We, in that time, as sometimes happened, the owner has taken some steps, brought in plans, shown that there may be some activity going on there soon to renovate. We think they have some financing in place. We think things will start to move. So we, a pretty draconian step, but we started an eminent domain process to acquire it, and it seems to have kickstarted things, which is great. That's what we'd love to have happen. We just need to end it.
Is there any chance that you could sort of force them to at least clean up like the paint's peeling?
Yes, it's all enforcement issues, and it's all issues that we're trying to do. Unfortunately, it's, the municipal court process is not the best way to get a property fixed.
Okay.
All right?
He
Just,
didn't
you
clean
find
up-
people.
He cleaned up behind it though. It was,
Yeah.
the back of it is much better now than it was 2 weeks ago. So there's that. I don't know what's gonna happen next.
It needs a lot of work. Needs a lot of work.
I hope it doesn't fall down.
Okay? Anyone else? Yes?
I just have a question. Beth Burns, Homestead Oriental. My question is this: is there any place I could go to find out what the rules are with regard to recycling? You mentioned the bags. I didn't know that. And I imagine that there's a lot of people who are like me, who spend 15 minutes at the garbage can deciding where to put each thing, right? So is there any place?
What is the best website location?
So we do include, these are county rules. We put that in the flyer, which gives a very good outline. We include that in the last town crier. We can make those available, paper versions of Borough Hall, but there's also on collinswood.com. There's a recycling page. There's a sustainable page. They all point to the county's materials on recycling. We've been, I don't know if you're active on social media, but we've been pushing out information on social media, on the mayor's blog, through every feasible channel, the farmer's market. We have a separate sustainable page. You could start at collinswood.com under the living tab. There's a green Collinswood page, and you can find most of that information.
Isn't the rule pretty much now 1s and 2s?
1s, 2s, no caps, make sure it's
No
very
caps?
clean.
No caps.
Rinse them out?
1s and 2s.
1s and 2s, rinse them out.
No plastic
That's
bags.
that's it.
No plastic bags, no frozen.
That's it.
Yeah, the magazines, you talked about
Any
magazines.
paper, any paper could go in all.
The county's tagline is, which is a good tagline, so that we're not contaminating, is when in doubt,
Throw it in, okay?
So, as much as we want everyone to become an expert in recycling, we did a little green challenge exercise at the farmer's market over the weekend, and, you know, even those of us who have been studying those rules got a few wrong. So if you're not sure, throw it out. Learn as much as you can, but if you're not sure, throw it out.
And definitely wash it out. It has to be clean. You can get rejected for just nothing. But you know, like a milk container, they take that and you think it has wax on the inside, doesn't, is it okay? Just rinse it out and put it in.
Only the waxy milk containers?
They can go.
To the
Well,
plastics,
any
one
plastics,
to
one
two.
and two.
Plastic.
One
And
and
your
two.
aluminum cans and your tin cans and that kind of stuff. And I would say too, if you see a neighbor that has plastic bags and you're friendly with them, like, let them know, because word of mouth is one of the best ways. Don't assume that they'll get the information that you didn't get. So try to be an ambassador for good recycling as well. That's really helpful.
Yeah, keep it, just put it in the can, don't put it in the bag in the can.
And by the way, I got one wrong for the farmer's market, I took the test, shredded paper. Cannot put it in your recycling.
Can't be shredded.
So you take all the junk mail and you shred it because you don't want your personal information out there.
That goes in the trash. It messes up machines.
And you see what the penalty was.
He had to stay after at the green table.
Yeah, right there. Hang on one second, one more, just for follow.
I just wanted to say, number 3 through number 7, and I've seen people post it, you can take it over to Mom's Organic Market. And you can, you know, I have like a couple of bags and then I take it over like once a month or something. And there's all kinds of stuff that they take there.
Mom's got an outlet.
Yeah.
County doesn't. Yes,
Just adding on that.
I just need your name and address for record.
I'm sorry, Gina Lorenzo, 101 Ardmore Ave, Township. But adding to that, they take the milk cartons, but they don't take freezer boxes, like
Yeah.
coffee containers and that. So I don't know why that is, but.
When in doubt, throw it out. Yep. Yes, sir.
Gerald Culpa, 22 West Norman Avenue. I just wanted to address some parking, once again, situation on our block. We had an incident this past Friday, again, it was patrons for Bistro Di Marino coming down, parking on our block. This has been like an ongoing thing, I've been back and forth over this. We had the policeman come out, because there was an incident where I was at one time going up there and speaking to the maitre d' and asking if anyone was parked on our block, if they could please move their car. And just, you know, trying to give them that kind of courtesy. But this one particular person took offense to that, and it caused an incident. And I was told by the police, never go up there, don't engage with them like that, just call us out and we'll ticket you. So that's what I've been doing ever since. And this past Friday, I have a handicap space, which I had to apply for with the owner of the house. It's not in front of my house, it's in front of 2 houses down, where I spoke to the owner of that house and he agreed to allow me to put my handicap space there. And he signed it and I submitted it to the police. Okay, so that's where I've been parking. My house number is on the sign and everything like that. The sign is kind of in bad shape. It's kind of been twisted around and it's also not very clear. It's not, my house number is not posted on both sides. But long story short, they had someone parked in my space, and then there were 2 other cars that were not permit cars that were parked there. 2 police officers came down. When I came out of my house, I talked to my neighbor whose daughter-in-law was visiting her, and I asked about her car. I said, because I didn't recognize it, I said, are you at the restaurant? She said, no, I'm here visiting my mother-in-law. I just stopped in for a little bit to see my mother-in-law. When the cops came down there, I was engaged with this one officer. He got out of the car and I told him, I said, this car and these 2. And this whole time, and the other officer just drove slowly down to the end of the block and he ended up ticketing my neighbor's daughter-in-law's car. So that's, it's like, they asked me to bring up the subject of visitor passes, which you used to issue. And that would go, it's like, it seems to me that everything is put on the homeowner or our plate. We've got to do all this stuff. What if, and I suggest that, what if it was a situation where my brother, who never visits me, but he just happened to be in the Collingswood area, decided to pop in on me, and I didn't call to say, hey, such and such a car with this license plate this year and make and model number is gonna be on the block. And we've had issues. I've crossed swords with a lot of neighbors on the block due to the parking. We're one of the few houses that do not have a driveway. A lot of people, they do have driveways, but we try to look out for each other on there, but this has been, and like I said, because of the restaurant, it's been an ongoing situation. And it's been something where the last time we brought this up, he was trying to expand to open up that other section where he used to have the takeout, which he has done. And he said that he was going to put a notice on the bottom of all his contracts. Have any of you people followed up on that and seen any of those said contracts? And is that thing on there? Because he was supposed to put a sign in his window about 5 years ago. And that never happened.
So she's here, right? You want to address any of this stuff? You've talked, right? You've been talking, okay. So we can check and follow up about what the what they've done in terms of their contracts. He did say that he would put something on to, tell them people not to park. And we'll check about the sign, but listen, people are gonna park there. I mean, it's just not, no matter what we do, they're gonna park there. You just have to call the police. It's not all on the neighbors.
I will say this, some of
some
the signs are not, they're just not clear enough as well.
Okay,
I mean,
so
there's a no outlet sign that, I can't understand how anyone could not understand that. I mean, it's obviously that it's a dead end street, it's one of these hexagon no outlet signs, but the permit parking signs, the street where Sours is, the produce place, if you go up there, they have permit parking signs which are in red. They're a little bit easier to read.
Okay.
And they also have, curb your dog, which would be a helpful sign to also have posted on our block. Because people, we don't have dogs, but people do like to walk their dogs down our block for some reason. And I don't understand why we have a lot of kids on our block and the homeowners take it upon themselves to have to purchase children playing signs and stuff like that to put out in the street. Because you got these restaurant patrons that come flying down the block and they come down, even if they don't find us, if they do happen to read the sign, they have to turn around and then fly back out of the street. We're trying everything we can possible to come up with a solution to this. Short of like maybe putting cones up in our spaces, maybe if we did something like that, where someone couldn't take your space.
Listen, I can tell you from blocking streets off, people just drive around the cones, okay? So it's not, so we'll look at the signage, see what we can do. We'll have a discussion with Marinos, see if they follow through with those items. I don't remember seeing a sign last time I was up there.
Yeah,
but
bear in mind that doesn't, even the contracts that he claimed he was gonna put that notice on the bottom of each contract that he has as a party sign, That doesn't deal with the individual patron
Yeah,
that
we know.
goes that night to dine there.
Oh, listen, off of Haddon Avenue, a lot of people are gonna go hunt to find parking spaces.
Exactly,
That's-
and and there could be spaces right on the avenue, and a lot of times they don't take them.
People look for the closest one.
Yeah, they want something that's like nice and cozy down the sidewalk or something like that. But as I said, this guy he is so uncooperative with this. He never posted a sign in his window, which he should have done. He said he was going to do, and he never did that.
Okay, we will talk.
And this has caused a lot of disharmony down this block. As I said, this past Friday, a ticket was issued. It's $23. This woman has cancer. Her husband has
Listen,
a heart
you can't
condition.
tell us we got a ticket more and then yell at us when we ticket, okay? It can't be both, and you don't get to go out and say, that car's okay, this car's not okay. That's not how this works, okay? We'll step up the enforcement, and everybody is subject to it. That's what we do. We can look and see if there's some way to deal with it, but listen, it's not gonna end. Whatever we do, it's gonna be an issue. We can take steps to make it as good as we can, and to re-up with Marino, to try to let people know. But whatever we do, when the guy who's looking for a parking space hasn't gotten to the store to see a sign to tell him not to park there. So the guy looking for a parking space is gonna go up and down the streets, gonna go up Crestmont,
and
other side, gonna go everywhere.
Disregard the posted signs, and believe me, they do that.
We'll look
They
at
go-
upgrading signs.
They'll be looking right up at it, and it's like they can't read or something like that.
And the stop
But my
signs don't work.
My
Yes.
point goes back again to what my neighbor asked me. He said, bring up visitor passes. You used to issue a visitor pass, and that would be showing us a little consideration as homeowners and taxpayers, that we don't, everything doesn't have to be left on our shoulders, that we've got to call up and everything we have, do you know where all these people are at every second of the day, whether they're gonna be popping over to visit you for 10, 15 minutes?
We'll certainly look at it. You're not the only block.
I understand that.
That has this issue.
I understand that, but that
People
guy,
that live off of Haddon Avenue are gonna experience parking from Haddon Avenue.
I brought up what I thought was a logical solution, well, when I was here, and it was like, it felt like on deaf ears. You have that shuttle that I drop my better half, she goes to work in Center City, and I drop her off every day at the speed line here, and you have all of those meter spaces in there, and you have that shuttle bus. If these restaurant owners got together and just did like a run, so many times a night, one run that picked up and dropped restaurant patrons to said restaurant, and that would solve a lot of problems. You drop them right off at their cars, et cetera, et cetera. That guy, Jimmy, is always crying about the school thing being locked up and chained up and no one could park in there. Well, there'd be a lot of legal parking spaces by around where the speed line is, where you could also be feeding the meter and making a little money that way. It's just a thought.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Jocelyn Sawyer. I'm visiting from Philadelphia, 1239 South 50th Street. And I work with Food and Water Watch New Jersey, as I really know. Happy to be supporting the folks who have been, coming in talking about community choice aggregation. So it's so great to hear all of the efforts that are, that are happening here tonight, just as Katie had said. And yeah, thank you also for it's great to see the research that you've been doing into community choice.
Thanks for your information. It's helpful. Thank you.
I was happy to be in touch with, Sean Klein is a councilman up in Livingston where they are trying out this program. And, I was just asking him some questions for my own information. And he offered, to write a letter that I could share with, residents in the town and other people who had questions about how does this work when you're buying renewable energy? So thank you also for taking the time to read that letter. I wanted to share with you as well. I think we're coming up on just maybe about a year since the first time that we were here kind of presenting this idea, and it's been exciting for me and for, Food and Water Watch to see just in this past year, really how many more towns are trying this out and adopting it, and so that how much more, information we have. And I know, in Livingston, they actually, PSEG customers saw a 10% savings on their electricity costs. And, that's great to see that this isn't just a theory, it's something that does work. And then, in response to that, at Food and Water Watch, we also have been doing some of our own research into, actually looking into how has this been working and how can we suggest, tweaking an ordinance and, trying to have it even better, both, cost savings and energy impact. And so just wanted to let you know, that's also work we're doing on our end, and to extend the invitation again that, if it will be helpful for you all to meet with me, and then also our renewable energy policy expert who's so much more knowledgeable than I am.
Is that the one who was on the?
Jim Walsh, was there on
down
video.
in DC or something?
Sorry?
Was he down in DC when we heard from you?
Yeah, maybe. He was part-time in California and then part-time in New Jersey, so, it's a little bit of live action scheduled, but I know that he also would be happy to come, speak with you just about, as an advocacy organization, what he's been learning, what we've been finding, in addition to, of course, information that you'll be getting from the consultant.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Looking forward to continuing, seeing this move forward.
Thank you. Thanks. Anyone else? Yes.
Gloria Gladwell was on out there. I just wanted to say thank you. A lot of people said for the work you're doing with the great team and green design, sustainability, the back end. I think it's awesome. I know how long you guys have been working to do this. The other thing is, I don't take for granted that we have a pretty special town here, and I work all around the state, and I do, like just today, I'll be sitting in a room full of people, when they say, where do you live? And I say Collingswood, they say, oh, that's such a wonderful town, I love it, I love to go there. I think people driving up from Cumberland County to come here and go to our restaurants, and I appreciate it. I moved here 19 years ago, we didn't have much, there was no parole, and it was all right, and you guys worked your asses off, and I appreciate it, and I just wanted to say thanks.
Nice.
Thanks for helping.
Anyone else? Hang on one second. Okay. Just name and address for the
No
record.
one but me is gonna wanna listen to this.
No, that's not true.
No one but me is gonna wanna listen to this.
It's okay.
It's about Morgan Properties.
Right.
I've lived there for many years.
And pull it. Pardon.
Right,
Just for the record.
just for the record.
You can sit down.
Okay.
That's fine. You can
Well, I'd
stay
like to
seated.
see
It's
what
easier.
you're into. I've lived there 44 years. To say these people are horrible insults horrible people. Okay? They don't listen. They don't answer the phone. Their call center for all of their properties is in the Philippines. So if I have a leak under my sink in the middle of the night, the number I'm calling is in the Philippines. At this time of the year, they don't have anybody on duty from 11 to 7 the next morning. So they have to call someone in, which is not a problem, except the fact if it's something major, it is a problem. If it's not police and fire involved, it's a problem. I have called the health department in Camden County. I have spoken to the inspectors. I've called the head of the Board of Health. I've spoken to the secretary to, I think her name is Carmen Rodriguez, who is the freeholder,
Right.
who is in charge of the Board of Health. I have spoken to the Pennsylvania Collingswood Fire Prevention Bureau, and they do come when there's stuff in the hall that shouldn't be in the hall, like beds. I'm not talking small things. I have spoken to somebody else. Oh, the Department of Community Affairs in Trenton. I've called and told them about all these things. The trash rooms are filthy. The elevators are never cleaned. their cleaning contractor was getting 5 hours a day. You can't clean a 10-story building in 5 hours a day if you're Superman. Oh, they pulled all the landscaping out around the buildings and informed me, excuse me, I know it wasn't you, but the police chief told them to take it out.
Don't, you wouldn't have done that, would you? No, I didn't think so.
You were supposed to have taken it. You told me to take it out. I didn't, I knew that didn't ring true to me. They mowed the dirt. There's virtually no grass because they have spent not a nickel on landscaping. But there's a $50,000 truck in the garage with Morgan Properties all over it that has never moved out of the parking space. The water pressure is very low because they're in the process of rerouting the water.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for 6 months.
Yeah.
The guys work 2 days every 3 years. I mean, it's.
Well, so I tell you, we'll get, we have a meeting tomorrow morning, our enforcement crew tomorrow morning, we'll go over all this. But, the water, they are doing major
Oh, I know.
infrastructure improvements
They're
in the
moving
water.
it from below ground to above
Yeah,
ground.
it's a 7-figure easily, construction project that's underway. So I get where you have pressure issues.
The
But it's
Department
major water.
of Community Affairs regulation states that in kitchens and bathrooms that don't have windows, the exhaust fans have to work, they don't.
Okay.
And yesterday, they told the guy from the Board of Health, I'm sorry, it's just, I can't believe it, it's so incredible. There are vents in the hall. They told them they weren't exhaust vents. They told them they were to blow air in. Well, no one in their right mind would blow cold air into the winter and hot air into the summer. They're exhaust vents. They've always been exhaust vents. I know this because my husband was the chief engineer of a 500,000 square foot office building in Philadelphia. I mean, they will lie to anybody about anything at any time. They don't answer the phone. I'm 72, but we have people in our 80s and 90s that have to get downstairs to the office.
So our crew advised that you had some issues. We're, like I said, we have our property maintenance group gets together, task force
Okay.
gets together tomorrow morning. We will make parking a focus. We'll look and see
I
what's
will
going on. We talked a little bit about it earlier tonight, about some issues that may be going on. And so we'll get together with them, go over, just
I'll
what
give
the
you
plan
copies.
is.
I brought copies for you.
You got it, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
And we'll be back to you.
and I spent 25 years in commercial property management, so I don't have a lot of patience with this shit.
I know who you are.
Excuse my French.
I know.
But I just don't. And this is very important. This is the hottest summer on record. They have 81 air conditioning units that are not working and they don't have any replacements. And they will not take them out of the empty apartments. My neighbor across the hall is extremely asthmatic. So my husband finally went online and he said, you know what? Renter Center rents portable air conditioning units. He went over to Barbara and she rented one. She sleeps in her living room because she can't sleep laying down. I mean, how can you have the hottest summer on record and they had 81 units that need to be put into rooms? And they're older, it's an older building, so they are rooms. It's not like open concept where the air flows through, it doesn't. They don't give a damn.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and the
we'll-
garage doors don't work. I mean, I pay to park in the garage. The one on the B Tower side has been out for a month. And the one, I wrote her a note on the 20th and took it down, took another one down, copy down. 8 days later, nothing had been done. So then they got the garage door company out. They didn't have the part. And now the one on D Tower side doesn't work. It's like if I didn't laugh, I'd scream. I mean, I literally screamed.
Well, we'll get together internally about it, but then we'll also meet with them and we'll get back to you and let you know.
Let me know when you're
What
gonna meet with
results
them,
are.
because I'll pray for you.
Okay.
I did.
Hey, you gotta keep doing that all the time. Don't just pick a meeting, okay?
I mean, seriously.
Thanks for coming.
All right, thanks.
141 properties, and this is the best they can do?
I know, we'll have a discussion.
I never thought I'd miss Gray Star. I'd kill if it took it back.
Okay, anyone else? Folks, yep, go ahead, Kate, just the name and address for the record.
Kate Delaney, 126 East Palmer.
Thank
It's not my question, but actually following up on things you've said about Parkview, and I spend time over there sometimes, so it's not surprising that they don't correspond with you. Doesn't the Collinswood Housing Authority have any jurisdiction over Parkview if they're
No.
senior and low income?
No.
But they
No,
got rid of the senior program.
Yeah, no, our housing authority is limited to, it's not the generic housing authority, it's limited to running the apartments.
Oh.
Yeah, we're the senior project, we're the senior project, the arms.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question was, following up on the bids that are, the bids for the public safety.
The
building.
bids, okay,
Yes,
yep.
when they will be viewable to the public?
Well, they're due in September 11. When,
You open it in the public.
yeah, they get open.
You can go when they open.
What time, whatever time, you can, Keith can tell you what time it's gonna be done, but they open them all there and
Contractors
people wanna
usually show
inspect
up
them, you can look at them. Yeah. Usually, whoever's put them in, they're there to look real quick
Right.
to see,
And where does that
if
happen?
they're still in the game. Where are you doing the bid open? Burn Hall?
Do it here.
Here? There's gonna be a lot of folks? Yeah, there'll be a lot.
Okay, and then is it online after that, or like where else would
I
it
don't
be?
think so. I don't think the bid submissions don't go online. They're usually big in multiple parts, plans, like they're usually a lot.
Right, yeah, I saw online that USA Architects charges like $150.
To get the spec.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to confirm also that the price point was still 14 million for the
The
public safety?
overall, yeah, the overall. We're still, well.
The bids will
We'll know
tell
September
us.
11.
Right.
We'll know September 11, we'll see what the market says. Unfortunately, everybody's busy out there, so it's scarce. The economy's good, they're all building. So we'll see. Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Okay, we're adjourned. Enjoy Indian summer.
When did you say that was?
How are you?
I don't know, let's take data of it and go watch the local bits. I'll get